Howdy, 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 my name is Anachi Sasuke, and welcome back to Let's Read the SCP Foundation Wiki. In the last episode, we left off with the pan-dimensional vending machine. I'm not sure why they just dropped off the word machine. Tracking stone was also really weird. But in this episode, we're going to start with a coat of many arms, and see how far I get while I still have the ability to speak. Okay, apparently the microphone's supposed to be bumping into my shoulder today, so I'll be careful with that. Okay, so I forgot that I was going to say that I thought the coat of many arms was going to be a coat with a bunch of arms in it, but that it's probably going to be an actual coat of arms. But it sounds like it's the thing that I thought it was going to be. So, currently, SCP-262 is undergoing review and research to see if it is capable of being used by field agents in the acquisition of other SCPs. Monitored use by commander-level authority is preferable. It is inadvisable to allow agents unsupervised, I was saying it right, I just thought I wasn't. Usage of SCP-262 at this time. When not in use, 262 is kept in a climate-controlled room at site blank, guarded by at least 2 Level 2 security personnel. Now what is it? 262 is a light brown European military-style greatcoat from a period between the late 1500s to the early 1900s. It is without any specific designations or markings. Leading researchers believe it was an original archetype sample, intended to be submitted to military officials for approval as a part of a new uniform design. The pattern was either rejected or lost because it was never implemented. It is made of wool and extends below the knee on most individuals. Carbon dating of the coat fibers has been inconclusive, placing the age of 262 in the range of 6,200 to 6,400 years old. One explanation is that the wool used to create 262 is perhaps thousands of years old, but the coat itself was cut, sewn, and assembled recently. 262 is capable of manifesting numerous arms from within the dark inner lining. When worn, any subject wearing 262 needs only to open the coat to materialize hands and arms, which are somewhat under the subject's control. Most limbs are human in nature and vary in skin tones, length, and strength. A noted few include a reptilian-like scaled tentacle some 13 feet long, 4 semi-transparent arm-like appendages made of cellulose over 33 feet long with 4 fingers, 2 elbow-like joints, and no wrists. A clawed paw of a large cat, possibly a cougar or a mountain lion. A puma. Several feet and legs that appear randomly. The space under 262 is considered to be non-Euclidean in nature, and the code itself divergent from normal dimensions. In one instance, test subject 402M was told to put 262 over his head. Upon doing so, 262 fell to the ground as the Class D personnel disappeared under it. Sometime later, fingerprinting of objects that have come into contact with the limbs of 262 have identified one of the arms as that of subject 402M. Okay. I'm not sure why putting it over his head made it take him away. Subjects properly wearing 262 are able to manipulate these arms with varying amount of control. Test subject 301F was able to perform multiple tasks at once even while unaware and blindfolded, leading researchers to believe that 262 has both perception and awareness of its surroundings even when the subject does not. Some believe 262 to be fully sentient due to observing it playing a piano with 2 or more hands, though the test subject had no formal training of music, defending itself or the subject from multiple attackers, several limbs fighting one another, or even going against the subject's will. At times, when a subject attempts to smoke, a particular limb will remove the cigarette from the subject's mouth and then throw it away. At other times, a different hand will place a cigarette into the subject's mouth and light it through the subject, though the subject dislikes smoking. Acquisition. SCP-262 came into the Foundation's care when the Administrator relinquished his ownership of the code in the late 20th century. Because of his status, the Administrator is granted special rights which effectively allow him to maintain silent about the origins of 262, how he came to possess it, and how he has used it in the past. The Administrator released 262 to the Foundation, stating in the right hands it could be extremely useful, in the wrong hands it could be extremely dangerous. In my hands it become extremely dusty and moth-ridden and taking up far too much space in my closet. Addendum 1. Selected notes from further research regarding the properties of 262. Okay. Trial 7. Inversion of it. After putting it on properly, subject 722M attempts to turn the right arm sleeve inside out as he removes its arm. Many disembodied voices cry in apparent pain. Subject 722M is instructed to continue inverting the sleeve. Multiple arms emanating from within the lining reach out and attack Subject 722M. In an attempt to remove the coat, he tries to retract his arm, but in doing so, inverts the sleeve of the coat. A long cellulitic arm appears from the opposite inner lining, reaches around and up through the inverted sleeve, grasps his caught hand, and pulls violently, the force of which dislocates the subject's shoulder and amputates the arm at the elbow. With 262 in typical position, all emanating arms retreat and audible wailing of voices cease. The wounds are treated and his condition is inconsequential. Okay, so, they told him to flip the sleeve inside out, which made the coat scream in pain. They told him to keep doing it, so the coat ripped his arm off so that it would fix the sleeve so that the pain would stop. For the coat, at least. Placement of it as on a mannequin. Trial 1. Placed on an anatomically correct human male mannequin dressed in typical SCP personnel attire. After several minutes, a single human arm emanating from the inner lining of 262 reaches up towards the mannequin's face. After several prods of apparent curiosity, the arm retreats and no further movement is recorded for the duration of the test. Trial 4, they place over the head and shoulders of a similar but different mannequin. After a few moments, 262 fell to the ground with the entirety of the test mannequin disappearing below it. Addendum. It has been noted that a rigid wooden arm resembling that of the test mannequin has been witnessed emanating from 262 since this trial. Let's see. Placement on a recently deceased human being. This isn't going to end well, is it? Research personnel put 262 on the body of a recently deceased disposable dude, recently terminated an experiment with SCP expunged. The body is whole, unscathed, and mounted in a seated position on a chair. Is this? I feel like this is the SCP that rips out souls. So, after a few moments, a single human arm emanating from the inner lining of 262 reaches up towards the body's face. After several prods of apparent curiosity, the arm retreats. After several more moments, the body which 262 was on begins shaking violently. A popping and snapping sound is heard, and the deceased's hands, visible at the end of the sleeve, suddenly retract. The body then stills. A human hand reaches up the back of the deceased's neck from the collar and pulls the head up into an upright position. Numerous hands and arms crisscross the chest and abdomen and straighten the body. Two cellulitic arms reach down the body's legs and grip the ankles. 262 pulls the body into a standing position as the other arms of cellos come down each sleeve. 262 continues by breaching containment and overpowering security. At the time, MTF Epsilon 9, aka Fire Eaters, were present in the facility to provide reinforcements. Discharging their flame accelerators in an aggressive fashion, members of MTF E9 were able to corner 262 in a blind hallway. When cornered, a hand from within 262 pulled the coat up and over the head of the body it was using. 262 collapsed to the ground with the body of the disposable dude disappearing beneath it. It is unknown if the incident was caused by the will of 262 or the will of the body of the recently deceased disposable personnel. So apparently giving the coat to a dead body will make the coat take over the dead body and then go about its business. I was about to say I can't help but wonder what it did to overpower security, and then I remember that it has multiple extra arms, and not all of them are human arms. Some of them are 33 feet long, so I imagine some of the personnel got strangled that day. Anyway, the coat of many arms, Cash or Ash? Which is safe. Oh, it's another old-timey TV. SCP-263 is to be stored in a low-value item storage vault in Site 19. It may be removed for testing provided permission from a Level 3 researcher or a fire-resistant area to conduct testing in. All testing with SCP-263 is to be recorded. Subjects testing 263 are allowed a mobile telephone, a PDA, or a netbook computer with full unrestricted access to a complete synchronized copy of the Foundation's databanks, stored in a dedicated database server to guarantee full retrieval of any records entry in a no more than 200 milliseconds if and only if they are terminated immediately after testing is concluded. All recordings of a testing on 263 are to be reviewed by a researcher with level 4 or higher clearance and censored where necessary to prevent access to restricted material. All researchers observing 263 during testing are to be administered a local amnestic and have their notes confiscated. Research notes from testing require permission from a researcher with level 4 clearance to access. SCP-263 is a black and white television bearing the logo of the Thomson Company. It matches no known model of television but has a similar style and construction to televisions built in the year 1961. 263 is fully intact but has sustained minor cosmetic damage to the screen and frame. 263 has been observed to function even when not connected to a power outlet. When switched on, the TV always displays the interior of a studio, whose design bears similarities to studios of television game shows from the 1960s. A large logo saying Cash or Ash and large stylized letters can be seen the back wall of the studio, probably supposed to be on the back wall of the studio, and an unidentified music piece is playing in the studio at all times. The only man visible in the studio was SCP-2631. One appears to be a male human of Caucasian descent, approximately 35 years of age, dressed in a suit that matches the style commonly worn between the years 1959 and 1964. One has a demeanor that has been described as blithe, enthusiastic, and over the top. One is smiling almost constantly. As soon as the human turns 263 on, one will look directly at the subject and say that the subject is a new competitor who just tuned in to the Cash or Ash show. He will then state that he wishes the subject lots of luck in answering 3 fiendish questions and getting the cash and not Ash. One's exact phrasing varies slightly between each usage of 263. One will proceed to ask the questions. The questions asked by one are always related to the environment surrounding 263. If inside of a fully enclosed structure, one will ask questions about the owner's history and design of the structure. If outside of an enclosed structure, one will ask questions pertaining to the history, geology, ecosystem, and weather patterns of the surrounding area. While inside of a Foundation facility, all of the questions are related to various SCPs in possession or in the records of the Foundation, or about the history and architecture of the site in which it is stored. Many of them are inquiries upon rather basic information easily found in documents accessible by low-level personnel, but some of them concern specific minutiae, found only in certain esoteric documents which require high clearance and/or are rather complicated to find or reach. In each case, though, the information needed to correctly answer the question can be gathered from Foundation records. For a full list of questions asked by 263-1 while in Foundation possession, see Document 263-Q1. If within the next 45 seconds the subject supplies a correct answer, his success will be acknowledged and briefly congratulated upon by one. If, however, the subject answers incorrectly or does not answer within 45 seconds, one will say, "Time's up, so sorry," and the subject will immediately combust. The flames are always of both high temperature and intensity, and will fully enclose the subject within 4 seconds. All attempts to extinguish this fire up to this point have been unsuccessful. After 42 seconds, the fire will disappear along with the remains of the subject. After 42 seconds have passed, one will look out towards the place where the subject combusted and state that the failure is a pity, and that hopefully the next competitor will avoid the ash and get away with the cash. 263 will then turn off on its own. If during the 45 seconds someone whispers to the subject, audibly speaks to the subject leaves the area directly in front of 263, or the subject interacts with a computer greater than 27 centimeters, one will accuse the subject of cheating, and the subject will combust in the same manner as described above. 263 will then remark on the dwindling ethics of today's people, and will switch itself off. Portable consumer electronic devices such as mobile telephones, PDAs, and laptop computers smaller than 27 centimeters do not cause the subject to combust, thus allowing the subject to find the information required to correctly answer the questions within the provided time. If the subject correctly answers all 3 questions, one will say, "Congratulations, you've won the cash, here's your prize." 263 will then turn itself off and a prize will appear in front of the subject. The prizes given away by 263 appear to have no discernible theme or pattern. So far, the following prizes have been given. A marble figurine of a dragon, 5.3 centimeters long. Microscopic observation confirmed that the micrometer size details are present. Value $48,000. Jade statues, which appear to be ordinary US dollars, similar to ordinary US dollars. However, the faces of the presidents are all replaced with a smiling face of one. Same detail and carving as the dragon figurine listed above. Value $226,703. A clockwork figurine, 4 centimeters tall, made of brass and walking around randomly when wound. The figurine depicts an unknown, vaguely squid-like creature. Value $21,424. A series of 8 gold-plated miniature statuettes resembling humanoid anomalies contained at Site 19, including SCP-1770. The statuettes are marked with the anomaly's object number on the base and do not appear otherwise anomalous. Value $17,315. All attempts to inquire one about himself or 263 have proven ineffective. One does not react to any question or statement save for the question answers or any cheating attempts. Okay then. I mean, I guess that's safe. It's just a TV and nothing bad happens as long as it's not turned on, or if it is turned on and you know what you're talking about. You don't become the Ash, you win the cash. None of them probably get the cash. I imagine they win the cash and then are terminated for having had the answers. So, now it's time for the Skeleton Temple. The Skeleton Temple. Which is safe? Okay then. SCP-264 is to be contained in a 16 by 16 meter room of standard reinforcement. 2 guards are to be stationed outside of this room at all times, circulated every 24 hours. The room is to be monitored every day for a minimum of 2 hours. 264 requires no nourishment of any type, being skeletons and all. No support is necessary either, as 264 suspends itself through an unknown source of levitation. Is it the thing in this picture right here? Yeah, okay. Note: as of blank blank 2000 something, only ages blank 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 deceased blank and Dr. blank blank are permitted to visit 264. Failure to comply will result in reassignment pending transgressors of conditions. See Addendum 264-1. 264 has noted previously some attachment to the aforementioned agents, as they were part of the team that originally discovered Data Expunged. In addition, both Aegis Blank and Blank Blank were on location during Data Expunged. Suggest keeping them on site until further notice. Dr. Carnival. Description: 264 is a skeleton of humanoid appearance, estimated at 2 meters in height. Its skull is slightly elongated, and 2 metal protrusions extend from either kneecap. 264's torso and upper pelvis have been replaced by, or consist of, a structure composed of an unknown metallic substance that resembles a temple of unknown origin. The structure is composed of several layers of balconies and terraces with a door located at the approximate center. On the structure are dozens of carved statues that resemble men, women, children, and in a few cases, animals. Statues are unable to be removed, although they appear to go about the standard activities of any tribal culture when not being viewed directly. The structure and skeleton seem to either have been mounted upon or a part of a hemisphere just over 1 meter in diameter, composed of what appears to be the same unknown metal. The edge of the hemisphere is lined with evenly spaced spikes about 1 inch in length. Several of the statues have been seen interacting with the sphere in various ways and seem to be aware of its existence. The backside of the hemisphere is covered in carvings of several languages, including Arabic, Hebrew, German, and blank. Translation of the blank language has been suspended indefinitely due to data expunged. See Addendum 264-2, if it's actually in here. 264 is sentient, communicating through several non-verbal forms including Japanese, Taiwanese, Korean Sign Language, and Morse code. It is most frequently recorded communicating through writing, however, and has been noted writing in nearly every language currently discovered, including the blank language. On rare occasions, a designated statue will speak for the SCP. There have only been 2 recorded instances of this happening since its discovery. Subjects refer to itself as the Guardian, and refers to the carved statues as separate entities. 264 claims to be the creator of the statues and the structure they live in. These statues appear to be aware of the Guardian's existence, as they have been observed retrieving several objects from the interior of the hemisphere, where it is presumed the structure expands. Objects retrieved from the interior include a stick of charcoal, papyrus, SCP blank, and several small semi-transparent marble of data expunged, which was presented to Agent Blank by one of the statuettes. How 264 is capable of communicating with its subjects is currently unknown, as neither it nor the statues emit any form of psychic readout. However, 264 has alluded to having abilities of precognition, taken from interview 264-A. I saw what would happen to the Doctor as easily as you see me and my people now. How exactly did you manage to do that? I traced the threads of fate. 264 refused to elaborate on what it meant. However, it can be assumed that through some force unknown, 264 is able to view the path a person may take through the course of their life. 264 has proven to have knowledge of several other SCPs currently contained, including 35, blank, blank, and blank. See interview 264-A, which is probably not here. Which SCP was this again? Oh, it's the weird mask! Okay. Well, that entire addendum is expunged, but the first one, due to the actions on June 10th, 2000 something, in which Dr. Blank and the civilian blank blank data expunged, 264 will allow only the aforementioned agents to converse with it. Following data expunged, Dr. Blank entered 264's cell to perform several experiments with one of the statues. At 0200 hours, data expunged. Several hours later, a previously unseen statue was viewed emerging from the doorway located at 264's center. Close-up imaging proved the statue to be in the likeness of Dr. Blank. Addendum 2, data expunged. Note: the next stages of exploration have been enacted upon today. A fiberscope was inserted in the doorway located at what we're guessing is the center of 264, with its permission, of course. Can't have any more assistance lost to rudeness. For the most part, the view was nil. Image was distorted. Some property of 264 is interfering with the camera, though of course it can't give any insight as to what causes this to happen. The phrase, "that," inscribed on the inside of the hemisphere is mounted on, was all we found. The Japanese translates to salt armor, though what this means we're still at a loss for. However, it does confirm our suspicions that 264 is Japanese, or at least Asian, in origin, despite where it was discovered. Further exploration is scheduled for I'm gonna assume that's for November 6th. Since whoever wrote this article wrote the date like this, so whoever wrote this particular entry is probably from the same country I am. Next up is the Black Volga, which is Euclid. Water and fire damage fragment of a photograph confirmed to be SCP-265. Okay. Foundation Site 54, 109, and 110 have been provided SCP-265 specific sub-task forces in order to study 265. Okay. Each houses a small fleet of tactical aircraft as well as agents trained in standard Foundation information gathering and interrogation techniques. Civilian cover stories and disguises are preferred. See Document 265-B for further protocol. Local news outlets are to be scanned for signs of 265, and teams are to investigate possible encounters. Specific protocols be arranged on an incident-by-incident basis. Agents are not to instigate violence towards 265 until a better understanding of its nature can be ascertained. So what is it? 265 appears to be a Series 1 GAZ M21 Volga automobile. Oh, okay, there it is. Devoid of any license plating, logos, or identifying marks. I should probably see what that actually is since the picture's not very good. It looks like this. Minus the lady. The lady's just sort of there. Oh, wait, this is 3rd series. My bad. That's also 3rd series. I guess there's not going to be a picture of a 1st series one. But now we have some kind of understanding of what it looks like, because that picture didn't give a really good, thing. Devoid of any license plating, logos, or other identifying marks. It is painted black with white rimmed wheels, and appears to be in pristine condition, regardless of environment. Some accounts note that it has white curtains in all but the front windows. Note that the production of the GAZ M21 ceased in 1970, with Series 1 being produced between 1958 and 1959. That's probably why I can't find good pictures of it. 265's vibe is absent of human occupants and appears to travel under its own power. Other details vary between encounters. It's common for individuals to report that 265 is silent while traveling, while others hear its engine idling for an extended period of time before noticing it nearby. Similarly, some encounters result in the vehicle leaving physical evidence such as tread marks on roads, where other encounters leave no such physical traces. 265 nearly always appears in scenarios which commonly elicit dread and paranoia in subjects, such as following lone travelers and idling in home driveways for a short while before driving off. 265 has been encountered throughout rural Poland, far from urban centers, but occasionally passing through small rural communities with populations under 500. It has been encountered at various times late in the day, with confirmed encounters having occurred at any time between 1829 hours and 0813 hours. Which is... There have only been 2 confirmed encounters of this phenomenon between 0900 and 1700. 265 normally moves at about 65 kilometers per hour, approximately 40 miles per hour, but has been recorded exceeding 400 kilometers per hour, 250 miles per hour in isolated instances. How would they have even seen it if it's moving that quick? Addendum. Foundation capture attempt. At 2311 on blank 2000-something, a vehicle matching 265's description was seen idling outside a Foundation-controlled weather station at Redacted. After visually confirming the lack of human occupancy, a pursuit team including 1 helicopter and 4 high-performance off-road vehicles were dispatched from nearby Site 109 to follow and attempt the capture of the video. 265 quickly accelerated to an excess of 200 kilometers per hour and showed an unexplainable degree of maneuverability. The helicopter continued pursuit until 265 vanished into a densely forested area. The following search of the area found no trace of any vehicle, but incomplete human remains were discovered 4 kilometers away in a waterlogged area. Addendum. Similar phenomenon. Given multiple occurrences of 265 and human remains, and the similarity of their respected vehicles, it is possible that 265 may be a variant or distantly related phenomena observed in SCP-2613. Investigation into both anomalies is ongoing. Additional documentation. Below is attached a translated series of excerpts collected from civilian sources, including audio interviews, law enforcement, news outlets, and personal diaries. This list is incomplete. Please see Dr. Siedelman for access to full records. I guess I can read these. Recorded from police records of location redacted. Summary: an isolated event. Victim was taking a walk between villages in the late afternoon of around 1300, so about 1 o'clock. A black Volga automobile with white rims appeared behind him and following at a low speed. According to the civilian, the vehicle was unusually loud and accelerated to hit him, fracturing his leg as he dove for cover. He played dead as the vehicle completed a 3-point turn to face him again, and waited for several minutes before it drove off. Civilian claimed that the interior was empty of any driver or passenger. Okay. Diary of Civilian 265, 1974, 811. Excerpt recovered from the archives of redacted. Unusual event. We pursued the Volga for 9 minutes in 2 cars, during which it led us further from the town. It was growing dark, but we were confident that we would catch it. Piatek shot at it, but he missed, or the car was bulletproof. He swears that he did not miss. It then turned sharply to the right and drove into the lake. We stopped and began writing the report on the side of the road. After 3 or so minutes, Gareki drew our attention toward the lake, and we saw lights emerging from the other side and red taillights driving off into the woods on the far side. There are only 2 sets of tire tracks. We swear on the lives of our mothers that this is true, and myself and Gareki request to resign. Recovered from the police records of location redacted. The couple claimed that the vehicle, an unmarked Volga limousine painted black with white tires, appeared behind them while they were traveling. It followed them for several minutes before ramming them repeatedly and driving off. Neither could describe the driver, and both said that the offending vehicle made no noise and left no tracks. Okay, another civilian diary. I awoke just past midnight and walked downstairs to fetch a drink of water. Once downstairs, I noticed lights through the window. A car from a few weeks ago was back at the end of the drive by the street. Its headlights were facing the house and it was idling loudly. I was afraid that somebody was out there, and I almost went to wake up Pyotr and the children, but I couldn't convince myself to move. After 10 minutes, the car backed away and drove away. It looked just like the car my grandfather had at his old shop, but black and brand new. I'll tell the police in the morning. Okay. On October 29th, 1995, the citizen claimed to see an unconscious person in the back seat of a vehicle fitting the aforementioned description of a black M21 Volga, and provided a description of the person's appearance. This was later determined to be very similar to Blank Blank, who disappeared from his house near the town of Blank on the same day 41 years ago. Let's see. I woke up around 3 in the morning and saw a car outside my front door. It was a black Volga automobile with curtains and white wheels. I do not know why I got into the car. I just felt like I needed to get into the back seat, so I did. I remember the door was heavy when I opened it, and the inside was clean and smelled like something familiar that I cannot place. I don't remember anyone else in the car. I remember seeing water out in front of me in the headlights, and that I was moving towards it, and the lights all went out, and I felt the car crash into it and go under. I held my breath as the water came over my head. I opened my eyes and saw terrible things. Everything was so quiet. Things watched me with sad faces in the dark. There were so many. They touched me, and I could see them begging me to... I remember screaming and beating the door, and the door opened and I fell out onto the grass. I remember spitting water and someone finding me a little while later, and I fell asleep in the car to the hospital. I'm so afraid. There were black rails and horses. They're waiting for everyone to come. A ship under everything else darker than anything. And the others are so sad. They want to touch and be happy again, but they're so far down. And it's so dark and cold. They can't come back. Okay, so this car is completely evil. As far as I'm concerned, this car sounds completely evil. Let's check out the Will of the Wisp. I'm going to say that it's Euclid. Hey! It doesn't sound like something they'd actually be able to catch, but it looks like it's contained. 266 is to be kept within a 10 by 10 meter airtight containment unit. Keep yawning, sorry. With the internal temperature maintained at or above 48 degrees Celsius by an independently powered heating unit. Access to containment requires level 2 or above clearance, and thermal hazard suits are to be utilized and maintained during all interaction. (266) is a number of free-floating masses of gaseous material possessing a natural luminescence which exists as a bright purple or red glow. In most cases, 266 feels cold to the touch and exerts a endothermic effect on its immediate surroundings. Despite having no obvious nervous system, 266 appears to react to stimuli and has been observed to learn certain habits based upon its experiences. 266 is remarkably fond of warmth and will actively seek sources of heat, natural or artificial. Of all sources, however, 266 prefers human contact as a method of obtaining warmth, oblivious to the inimical effect it has on mammalian life. Due to SCP-266's endothermic nature, extended exposure without proper protection will lead to death by acute hypothermia. While not aggressive, 266 will grow discontent and even hostile when not provided with adequate heat, and has exhibited the capability to cause considerable havoc when deprived of warmth. Human contact has also been observed to aid in calming 266, suggesting a need or desire for social interaction. Personnel assigned to this duty have reported hearing 266 speak. Recorded excerpts or conversations have revealed that 266 is capable of speaking in an unknown Gaelic dialect, and on occasion have spoken back. 266 was discovered in Blank, Ireland, after local reports of several youth inexplicably falling victim to hypothermia at a local hot springs. These events, along with ongoing reports of Will of the Wisps by superstitious locals, call Agent Blank's attention. After finding 266, he was able to lead it to nearby Site Blank. Upon arrival, Agent Blank exhibited symptoms of hypothermia and was only saved by the efforts of Dr. Blank and staff. Due to Site Blank's containment conditions, 266 was relocated to Site 19 at first convenience. Addendum 266A. Audio loss recording conversation between personnel and 266 have revealed English words and phrases being used alongside its standard dialect. Current theory is that it is simply imitating these words much like a parrot. Further documentation is requested regarding this matter. Okay, so that doesn't sound too bad. I mean, hypothermia sucks. And I don't know, oh right, it probably needs this temperature because of the warmth. That's not the temperature it gives out. It says it's endothermic, which I take to mean it just, like, sucks the heat out of things and then they die. Or at least get really cold and almost die if not saved. Tumor vor. I'm going to take a guess before actually looking at it and say that it's something that primarily feasts on tumors. Let's find out. Let's see. 267, a subspecies of Heterocephalus glabber naked mole rat. Pictured is a gestating breeder with nursery attendants. Ew. 267 is contained in a cave formation within Site 37. Live animals must be supplied to replace any that succumb to the course of feeding. A population of livestock is maintained on site for this purpose. Any personnel interacting with 267 organisms should be furnished with level 4 isolation equipment and a tranquilizer gun and stun gun for protection. Wild occurrences of 267 must be eradicated as soon as they are detected. Recovered human victims cannot be rehabilitated, but are to be removed for use in ongoing observation of possible anti-senescent effects of 267's venomous excretions. Okay. 267 are hairless, sightless, carnivorous rodents highly adapted for subterranean life in eusocial colonies. Eusocial? A single nest is currently... Maybe I can find a way to pronounce that. Okay. The guy said eusocial. A single nest is currently contained in the Blank cave formations and Blank. 267 is biologically similar to the naked mole rat, but represents a distinct subspecies. Members of a 267 colony spend the vast majority of their lives underground. They lack eyes completely and auditory and tactile senses are atrophied. They do not seem to experience pain or any sense of self-preservation. They're extremely sensitive to smell and airborne chemical stimuli, which they use for navigation, hunting, and communication. Unlike eusocial arthropods, there is no queen. There are caste divisions in its population, however, including workers, soldiers, breeders, and nursery attendants. 267 has sharp teeth and claws, but its primary weapon is its venom. The venom is effective in amounts, and has aggressive paralytic and carcinogenic effects. Okay, so it's not that it eats tumors, its venom causes tumors. In a hunt, dozens of soldiers cooperate to locate and bring down prey. They attack it simultaneously, inflicting dozens of bites in a few seconds and incapacitating the target. They then drag it, conscious but immobile, back to their colony. At the colony, swarms of worker casts 267 emerge to transport the victim inside. Workers remove foreign aromas, carefully check for parasites, and physically dismantle the organism's means of locomotion to prevent escape. By this time, tissues directly exposed to venom have begun to exhibit abnormal cell division. Within 24 hours, undifferentiated masses of tissue are visible at every bite location. The tumors arise spontaneously but seem to target skin and fatty tissues. As gross, they are less likely to threaten vital organ systems. This has the added benefit to 267 of producing a high concentration of energy-rich lipids for consumption. The tumors grow continuously until a few days after the larder animal's death. Because of the rapid tumorigenesis? Would there even be a pronunciation for that? I guess so. Tumorigenesis. Okay. Larders have massive caloric needs. Workers masticate and regurgitate root pulp to provide the larders with nutrition. They seem to distinguish cancerous from healthy tissue by its scent, and remove tumors for consumption once they have ripened to a desirable size. Workers have been observed licking and tending to larder animals to keep them clean and healthy. Larder animals last between 12 weeks and blank years depending on the species, and supply all of the colony's food. Many months typically last between 267's forays to the surface. Members of 267 are violently territorial and respond with overwhelming force to any intrusion into their caves. With sufficient food, they are capable of rapid reproduction, a fact that has become particularly threatening since the extinction of their primary predator, blank. 267-1. Bones from human beings have been uncovered in multiple waste areas within the caves, dating back several thousand years. Because of the difficulties in operating inside the nest, a full forensic survey of these leavings is unfeasible. 19 months after containment was first established, a larder Ace-26 was discovered to be human, possibly blank, who disappeared along with his parents on a family trip in 19 blank at the age of blank. The lack of appendages combined with rampant tumor growth is responsible for delaying the initial identification. Genetic tests are consistent with human DNA with massive deleterious mutations. Attempted interviews with the subject have discovered only that his language faculties have atrophied over the course of his imprisonment. Okay, so apparently these things captured a child, have had him for some years, bit off his arms and legs so he couldn't get away, and they've had him for so long that he has lost the ability to speak. Addendum 2. 267 shows a marked preference for acquiring humans as compared to other mammals. This is likely a result of humans' long lifespan and fast metabolism compared to other prey. Human subjects provide 33% more cancerous matter per month than a similarly sized pig, and can be kept as larder animals until the expiration of their natural lifespan. This helps to explain forensic and anthropological evidence of human predation, even at a time before a habitat intrusion made such behavior inevitable. Footnote, there is some evidence that animals, including humans, may live longer than normal individuals of their species, perhaps due to some effect of 267's venom or due to the abnormal tumor growth. Further observation is necessary to substantiate this observation. Okay. Let me see how long the cap of neglect is. That's... Okay, I'll do the cap of neglect, and then that'll... Neglect, and that'll be it for this episode. Now, it used to say, SCP-268 is currently to be maintained within data expunged, and it has been deemed that the exchange of use for facilitation of escape by restricted personnel or humanoid SCP is too great. However, the possibility of use by field agents after further testing is under review, and then it just says see Addendum 5. Description: SCP-268 is a tweed wool newsboy cap. The design and make seem to be of Irish origin. Due to the style and fabric, it is estimated to have been created in the late 1800s to early 1900s, though fiber analysis is inconclusive. The only markings on the cap are a small label with writing in Middle Irish reading, "The garden is the serpent's palace," or place. However, there are various indications that this label is sewn into the cap in recent times. Due to the nature of the artifact, testing has been extremely difficult. 268 seems to be a normal hat until it's worn. Anyone wearing the hat, however, becomes suddenly and instantly unnoticeable. Subjects become unmemorable, though thoroughly ignorable, and taken for granted by all observers. Observers with specific prompting are able to later recall physically seeing the subject, but can give no specific details other than seeing a man with a hat. Observers seem to have the overwhelming feeling that the wearer is someone that was supposed to be there, and thus did not merit thought or notice. During initial testing, remote analysis completely forgot what they were supposed to be observing within the chamber, and it was not until the declassed subject wearing the 268 spoke out loud that he was noticed again. Removal of the artifact, vocalization, and physical interaction with observers seem to be the only way in which wearers of 268 can make themselves noticeable. Once an observer has been made to notice a 268 wearing individual, they slowly begin to ignore the subject once more unless kept actively engaged by the wearer. Testing reveals that if a subject wears 268 upwards of 20 cumulative hours, its effects seem to linger with diminished potency on the subject even while not wearing the artifact. Testing in this area has been cautious due to the possibility of containment breaches, but one incident, see Addendum 4, has shown that if the artifact is worn long enough that the effect is rendered permanent and unbreakable. Extensive research is still unable to determine whether or not electronics are directly affected by 268. Observers viewing a 268 wearing subject through electronic means still have difficulty acknowledging the subject's existence, and even when noticed, observers report to be unable to see the face of the individual in question. Observers note pictures of 268 wearing individuals as being blurry, and digital media such as surveillance cameras is reported to become grainy and unfocused. Research is unsure whether these alterations are extant and physical or merely perceived due to 268's properties. It should be noted that although capturing 268 through visual electronic means has been difficult, motion sensing, weight sensing, heat seeking, and similar devices all trigger correctly when encountering a 268 wearing subject. Addendum 1. 268 is noted to have some similarities to SCP-180. 268, however, does not seem to function on inanimate objects, and more importantly, does not directly steal the identity of its host. While 180 causes its host to become unrecognizable after 180 itself is removed and placed on another object, this seems to be a side effect of its function or identity theft and transfer. Meanwhile, 268 could be said to steal the identity of longtime wearers as they become irrevocably forgotten. This has caused some speculation as to whether the items share similar origins or whether the many similarities they share are merely coincidental. Addendum 2. At Agent Blank's request and after approval by Dr. Blank and Dr. Klein, 268 is being used with agents in active field duty. Results thus far have been favorable. Addendum 3. Field testing has been suspended. Though Agent Blank appears to have been on payroll and on records, no personnel either on Site Blank or in higher command remember knowing or hearing about an Agent Blank. Further tests should be conducted only on disposable dudes and no single individual longer than 10 hours. Addendum 4. Let's see. 268's effects seem to strengthen and become permanent as individual subjects wear the artifact for extended periods of cumulative time. There's a marked difference in the potency of 268's effects on someone wearing it for the first time and someone who has worn the artifact for upwards of 5 hours on other occasions. For example, someone who has not worn the cap before seems to dispel its effects merely by speaking. Those who have worn the artifact on several occasions for extended amounts of time seem to be able to ask observers questions and receive answers with the observer having little to no recollection of the event. In one test, a subject who had worn the artifact for upwards of 15 hours was able to ask standing personnel the test chamber's password, nearly causing a containment breach and the escape of a disposable dude. The security personnel in question reported being unable to recall parting with the information in question. Addendum 5. As of blank blank blank, 268 is missing. Its absence was discovered early in the morning by Agent Blank and research analysts, and in its place was a note reading, "Thanks, I needed my hat back, LS." A full investigation of the security breach has been launched as of blank blank blank, referred to data expunged. Huh. I wonder who that was. In any case, that's all I'm going to do, going to hit for this episode. I don't want to say it's all I've got time for. I've got plenty of time, but I try to keep it to 45 minutes. So in the next episode, we'll check out the dialysis bracelet, the secluded telephone, the inscribed disc, and probably an old iron nail, and to see how far we get in 45 minutes. So, this has been Nanashi Sasuke. This is episode 65 of Let's Read the SCP Foundation Wiki. If you liked it, a like and a subscribe would be groovy. If you didn't, you'll need to do either one of those things. So, thanks again, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Later.